Today, I have a new Mini Marvel all-in-one production tool to show you. It's the Magewell Director Mini. This little 5.5-inch device says it can mix multiple inputs, do a picture-in-picture, graphics, audio mixing, recording, streaming, and more. Well, that's pretty much the expected feature set when talking about an all-in-one production tool today. The Director Mini also enters a growing field of all-in-one solutions. So, what does the Magewell Director Mini offer to stand out in this quickly filling pool of solutions? Well, after using it for a couple weeks, I can tell you the Magewell Director Mini has a lot going for it. Let's get the basics down. The Director Mini combines multi-input switching, internal graphics, multi-destination streaming, internal recording, and monitoring in a tiny little tablet. The Director Mini has 2 physical HDMI inputs, 2 physical USB-A ports, and with both wired and wireless networking, it can take in 3 live IP sources, including an SRT stream, an RTMP stream, like from a GoPro, and an NDI HX2 or 3 source. It does not do full NDI. You can also incorporate videos, audio clips, or music, still images, and you can put all of these sources together into various scenes using the 5.5-inch OLED touchscreen. Well, by scenes, I mean you can have a plain camera feed, camera 1, or a scene can combine live video, that camera 1, keyed over a background with a title or a picture-in-picture, or even attach music to it. That's still just one scene. But wait, there's more. The HDMI inputs will even handle 4K ingest. There's a built-in telestrator to draw on the screen. There's an app to use on Android or mobile phones to use them as wireless cameras. The Director Mini can handle horizontal production or vertical production. You can leverage an external touchscreen on USB if you want a bigger touchscreen. It uses standard, easily replaceable NPF batteries that can be hot swapped in the field for endless power. It even has an internal sensor so you can orient the Mini however you want, and the screen rotates for you automatically. Because it's a video switcher, of course, you can switch between your scenes on the fly. Remember that app I mentioned? The Director Utility app isn't just for remote cameras. It also works as a complete remote control for the Director Mini to provide remote configuration, audio controls, input switching, scoreboard control, and more. And this is key because handing those tasks off to other people makes it easier to handle larger productions. The Director Mini can encode up to 1080p60 at bit rates up to 30 megabits per second. It has built-in APIs for YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook, as well as standard RTMP to wherever you want to go. It will also send NDI output and SRT output. But what about recording? Well, I mentioned the SD card and internal storage already. It can also record to a USB drive if you need to hand off the footage pretty fast. There's also 2-channel ISO recording. You get to select from the program output, HDMI inputs, or USB inputs. There's a lot going on with the Magewell Director Mini. And I am excited to show it to you, so let's dig in. Let's take a look at this device and see what you get. You get this tiny little tablet here. It fits in my hand. I've got 2 batteries on the back. You can see the batteries are both connected. There's a little fan, 1 and 2. The fan is pulling air through. Also, these little batteries enable you to put this thing down flat on a table and use it, because if you couldn't, then the fan would be sucking directly against a closed surface, and that's not a good thing. So you need to have this thing either on a little tripod, on a stand, or put some batteries on the back, and then you can put it down because you need the airflow. This gets warm, not hot, it gets warm, but it needs the airflow in order to be cool. Okay, Across this surface, which could be the top or it could be the bottom, depending upon how you want to use it, you have your Ethernet port, your quarter 20 SD card slot for media ingest, video playback, and also recording too. You have your USB-C port, which is also your display port for your monitor output, and then your 12-volt input. It comes with a 12-volt adapter. You don't have to buy batteries, but I highly recommend batteries, even if it's just to have this thing sitting on the table. $20 gets you 2 batteries and a charger. On this side, you've got your headphone output and your microphone or line input. When you plug it in, it will ask. So that is part of the operating system. It's not 2 different inputs. You have a USB 3 here, type A. This could be cellular. This could be a capture device. This could be a USB stick, or it could be a USB hub enabling you to connect multiple devices. Your power button, little reset button, the release for the battery. On the opposite side, you have your HDMI 1, which is capable of 4K. Your HDMI 2, which is capable of up to 4K. And then another USB-A port for, again, USB camera, capture device, USB stick, cellular modem, although I will mention that if you want to put a cellular modem in here, it's probably going to block the other 2 ports. So I kind of look forward to seeing a Director Not Mini that is a little bit larger, so there's more space between the ports, and that would enable you to have more things plugged in as well. Along the bottom edge is really nothing, but given that the case is metal and this thing is going to basically damage what it falls down onto, this is probably a plastic port for the Wi-Fi antennas. And then, like I said, along the back, you've got your 2 releases for the batteries, 2 battery slots, NPF standard, and then your lights, which can be used as tally lights if you're doing NDI, or as battery status lights. These batteries are low. I just got them in for today's show, and that's basically it. So if I'm using this way, you can see how it's rotated to me. If I want to put a little tripod here and tilt it that way, it's going to rotate automatically so that it works in the direction that I want to work. And that's a quick walk through the hardware of this little device. I kind of think like it would be cool to have colored corners on this thing so you can tell one model from another model, because I am sure this is just going to be the first of many for Magewell. This is the Director Mini. It is this tiny little tablet, and as I mentioned, if I want to work this way, it'll rotate. If I want to work this way, the screen will rotate automatically. I am in the middle of a show. You can see my audio meters up there. I've got a row of inputs down here. Like I said, I have been playing with this for some time, and you can quickly access any of your inputs this way. There's an audio mixer right here, so you can see my HDMI 1. That's where my audio is coming in. I can bring that down, bring that back up. Let me give this to you in a more direct view. Here you go. So now you can see more clearly my HDMI 1 has the audio coming in. I can bring that down just by touching the screen and bringing it down. And I can bring it back up. At the bottom it says audio follows video. So if I select a different input, let me close this. If I select a different input and then go back to my audio mixer, now you can see that the HDMI is off. If, however, I click on that, I can say that I want this input always on. Therefore, it doesn't matter what I switch to, that input will always be on. Very handy if you're going to bring in an external mixer into the analog inputs. Going to the next button over here, you've got your graphics indicator. So you've got different types of graphics, like you can bring in, I was just goofing off, title text, sliding it in and sliding it out. Or you could bring in a, let's just say I wanted to do a pre-show. So let me close graphics, go to a camera feed. There we go. And I want to do a countdown. There's my countdown timer. And you can see it's animated. So not only does the number count down, but along the edge here, this will slowly decrease. Now, this is for the whole counter. So if you have a 10-minute counter, that motion around the ring goes very slowly. You could do lower third. Let me get rid of that. You could do lower thirds and things like this. One of the interesting things with the countdown timer or any of these inputs is you can assign actions. So let me quickly switch inputs to this one. This is just a webcam I have plugged in over on the side here. And when it gets down to the last second, it's actually going to switch inputs by itself. So it's playing music that's attached to the input, and I have assigned an action so that when it counts down, you see that big marker down at the bottom right there, 3, 2, 1, it's going to automatically switch to my main input, and there's the show. So that is a very handy countdown type of solution for people who have regular shows and want to automate some of the tasks. So you can have the pre-show going, and then when the show begins, you're just there. You just start talking, and it will happen automatically. Let me get into your inputs, because I think that's where the magic really happens. So if we click on this and hold, you can see where it says Edit. I'm going to go into Edit. Now, this is your input. This is a very basic HDMI input from my camera. Now, I'm keyed here, but you see in the view from the Director Mini, that is the input as it comes in from the camera. Along the bottom, you can see I can move the position, I can change the size, I can crop the image, put a frame on it, put a label on it, I can flip it horizontal or vertical. I can give it a transition, so that's where the text pops in and pops out. Tapping on every one of these, in and out, and the duration. There you go. Chroma key, this is where you add your chroma key. Reset, out. PTZ control. Now, I don't have any PTZ control on this because it's just an HDMI input, but that's there. And then it tells you a little bit about the format. You can copy what you've got on one input and copy it to another input. Now, going back into this, I want to show you over here on the left, here's your audio mixer. You can check your audio for just that input. This is where you can attach music. So if I go to my SD card, I have music. I can attach that. It's loading the music. There it is. And it will attach it. I can say add. Also, this is not just one particular piece of music. You can add a list of music. You can then have it repeat the music. You can have it do auto start when you bring that input on. You can rewind to the start when you take it back off. You can pause the music. So there's a lot of actions in each particular element. You have to dig in a little bit with this. We're going to come back out of this. Over here at the top, on the left, you see it has a plus layer. So you're able to adjust layers. So if I wanted to have this, well, first, let's do a green screen. We'll do the chroma key. It's already keying. There we go. That was pretty simple. And the key actually looks pretty good. We're going to add a layer. So what I want to do is I want to add a picture. I can put my thing over another piece of video, but I am going to go into not the music. Let's go up to the parent folder. We come out of the music folder, and then I have logos and backgrounds. I'm going to click on that. I have still backgrounds. I have moving backgrounds. I have countdowns. We're going to go into the stills. Scroll past all the little period underscore that Macintosh insists on putting onto every piece of media. Scroll past that, and then we will have different types of backgrounds. So there's a vertical. Let's do this horizontal one. So there's a horizontal background. It comes in. It's a different resolution than my video. My video is at 1080p. I'm going to size this out to fill the screen. And then on the right-hand side in the middle, you see layers and down. So I move it behind me. Building your green screen is as simple as that. If you want to trash a layer, I could then trash that background and put something else back there. Now you can also crop the image. So if I am green screen, but I've got a pole or something else, I can actually crop that out. Next up, well, what if I wanted a lower third over this input while the person's talking? Every time I bring it up, I want that lower third there. So I can add, right here it says text layer. Here's my text layer. And then again, across the bottom, you see different configuration parameters for this text layer. And we can change the text just by tapping on the T. This is default text. You can say that this is Anthony. Burokas. Go away. Save. Save. And then you can put that right there. Or you can put it in the corner. Do like a little zoom thing. You can have it there. And again, this is one of the layers on this scene. It's a scene. It's not just an input. Every one of these inputs is a scene. So I save this, and now this input, if I tap in the middle of the screen, this is what it looks like. This is the scene. Now, the original input with just the green screen, that is incorporated into this. It's not available separately because I built this scene. If you wanted to have another one, you click on here, you say input 1, there's my green screen. So your cameras aren't necessarily just cameras unless you build them that way. Your cameras are immediately incorporated into scenes. So now I have it available separately, and then I can go to it with full treatment. I have it set to fade. You can have it set to cut. Next up over here is the little pencil icon. So let's just say I wanted to go to this input. I'm going to click on this, and now it's a telestrator. You can draw on the screen. Now this is very handy, but what you really want to do is you want to adjust these settings. By pressing and holding on the pen icon, you can say how big you want it to be. I want it much bigger than that. Auto clear after 5 seconds, the color. So now I can touch on this again and say this person is going to be moving this way. Just like in football or any other sports, you can diagram that and then it just fades away on its own. You don't have to worry about clearing it. Turn the telestrator off. And then there's some additional settings for fade to black, freeze, your scene switch settings, like I have it going with a fade and a 200 millisecond fade. Go away. You can rearrange or size these inputs on the screens. Here, let's do that. You can make them smaller so you can get more on there, or you can rearrange them or delete them. So if you create a scene, then you create another version and you don't want one, you can click on that and then just delete it. You click in the upper right where it says done. Over here on the right-hand side, you have your record button and your stream button. If we go into the stream settings, you can see that I have the ability with built-in APIs to go to YouTube, Twitch, Facebook Live. You can also do NDI streaming on the local area network. You have an RTMP server and an SRT caller, so you can send out via SRT. Right now, I am streaming via NDI. I can tap the icon and it will start streaming. I am curious. When I click that, can I connect with this? No, it will only stream to the one destination. I have it streaming to Facebook Live right now, and then when I try to add NDI, it's not adding NDI. So I can't do NDI and Facebook. I'm going to click stop streaming because I don't really want to stream to Facebook right now. You can take a picture. So if you've got something going on in the show, let's just say it's a cool picture-in-picture, and that's looking great for my output. I can come over here and say, take a picture of that and save it. So you can grab these cool moments from your stream as you're going. In the top left, you have access to create a new show, your show list, all the shows that you've created, your albums, which is the photos you've just taken, your settings. You can even send feedback and ask for help. What you can't see on this display, I mean, you have the audio meters at the very top, but what you can't see in this display is there's also more menus. If you drag down from the top, it will give you current status of the entire Director Mini. You can see that I have the power cable connected, I have the brightness for the screen, I have my headphone audio, and I have connection to my local area network both via Wi-Fi and via Ethernet. I can also add cellular. There's not a SIM card built in, but if you have an external modem, a USB modem, you can plug that in and that can be part of your connection. There's also Bluetooth. You can see it says that I'm not streaming right now because I turned it off. At the bottom, it tells me what devices I have connected and what the status of those items are. So I have HDMI 1 coming in at 1080p 60, HDMI 2 coming in at 1080p 30, webcam 1 coming in at 1080p 30 and webcam 2 is disconnected. This little icon in the top right corner, that monitor allows you to send just program or a copy of this screen out the USB-C. Let me show you the overhead with that. So across the top here, there is a little USB-C, which is also your display port out. And I'm using a converter to give me HDMI out from that. And over here, you can see my Ethernet cable and quarter 20 and SD card. The ability to select what that output is key, because to do this demo, I need to send you a copy of this screen so I can do this. Also, if you're going to connect this via USB-C to a large external touchscreen monitor, you're going to want a copy of the screen so that you're touching the actual buttons. You could also, if you just want to send a copy to a monitor or an external recorder, you would just select Choose Program, and now you can see that's just the program output, as opposed to this is the copy of the whole screen. You can send just HDMI 1, loop through, or just loop HDMI 2, which is my overhead camera, right there. For whatever reason, if you wanted to rotate it, you can also rotate the screen just like that. And then if you press the gear icon is the general settings for the unit that enable you to access all of the basic settings for your Director Mini. Let's go through them now. You have your network settings. This is where you can set up your cell. Let's plug this in and see if it will connect. You can turn your wireless local area network on. I have it connected to my office, and I have Ethernet. This will also do hotspot tethering, so that if you are out and about and you want to stream from this device and you plug in your USB modem, but you want to share it to a cell phone using the Director app to come in as a camera, you could use the Director Mini as your hotspot, sharing the cellular connection it gets from the connected modem. As you can see at the top of the screen there, it says connected. We can click on that and it says there's the MAC address. So now if I go back to the top here, at the very top of the screen, you see I have SD card, plugged in power, cellular, Wi-Fi, and Ethernet icons all across the top. So I have all of those connections at the ready. Let's go to my settings again. It's just a different way to get to the same settings. So in my network settings, you can see that I can turn my hotspot on right down here and make it available to anyone around the device. Bluetooth, as you can see, you can have your audio output like to Bluetooth earbuds or a Bluetooth audio input from a Bluetooth microphone. Next up is the display. You've got a brightness level. I have the energy conservation off, and I've chosen colors natural. Mine came with colors vivid. They were a little too vivid, so I set it to natural. Audio, you can set the default option, your monitor device, input delay, your output microphone, sound to the monitor device. This tiny little checkbox enables a huge feature. You might not even think of it, but I'll get it right. The output microphone to monitor device. If you are monitoring this in a room and you want to have remote guests come in, say via NDI bridge or something like that, you don't want the audio going out and back. You don't want to have an audio loop. So you don't want to send your local microphones to your monitor. You want to take this and turn that loop through off. That's where that's going to make a real big difference. Your storage, you have internal storage, 64 gigabytes. You have the SD card. I have a 64 gigabyte SD card. You can put the screenshots. Apparently they're going to all internal storage first. And I have set the record to go to the SD card first. Now, if you plug in a USB stick, this is where you would tell it where to send your recordings. If you want to record to the external media, then you have to tell it to go there. But you have the choice. It doesn't always go internal and then you have to copy it. You can have it go directly to your external media. Your encoding settings. You have two different encodes. Remember, two different encodes. So you can record 1080p at a high bit rate for internal recording, and then you could have a lower bit rate stream. Here's your stream settings. I have it going to Facebook Live, different settings. And then of course I've got NDI. Now because they're not on, I can say this is the alias, group name, encoding is the program, or I can pick what I want that encoding to be. So this is where, when they mention that you could have your ISO record, you can record your program and you can ISO something else. One of the cameras, one of the inputs, this is where that happens. Your program stream, this is where you can set your codec, H.264 or H.265. You could choose your resolution, Full HD, 720, 540, or 360. 360 is only possible with NDI. Your frame rate, you're not going to go to a higher frame rate than what you come in with. And your profile. So if I go back to my Facebook Live, you can set your default network. Do you want it to default to Ethernet first or your wireless LAN first? Like we were talking about before, with Facebook, I can pick encode 1 or encode 2, two different settings. So I can choose a lower bitrate encode for encode 2. I can choose a higher bitrate encode for encode 1 and make that my primary local internal program stream. Scene switch, like we talked about before, I have it set to a 200 millisecond fade. The LED lights. There are actually LED lights on the back of this unit. So if you're using this as an NDI encoder to go somewhere else, you can set them to be your tally lights for the camera, or as I have them set, I just have them as battery indicators on which battery is active. The USB-C can be set to different modes. As you can see here, I have it set for DisplayPort output, or it could be used for another webcam input and file transfer. It also allows the use of a hub. Because there are only 3 USB inputs, you might be a little limited in terms of if you want to have a webcam input and you want to use USB external storage and you also want to use it for video out. You can use a hub, and that will enable you to have more USB connections to this device. And your basic system settings, I have it set for my location. If you go into the firmware, you can actually have it auto check on here and self-update without using another piece of hardware. And that is a lot to cram into a 5.5-inch screen, tiny little portable device like this. Thankfully, you're not tied to this interface. Thankfully, there's also the Director Utility app, which I've loaded up on this phone, and I'm able to change inputs. I am able to easily switch between things. I can switch between my graphics. I can bring that cool pop-up graphic. Whoop. I can go between my stream settings. I can turn on NDI. There you go. I can go to my different recordings, and I have the whole audio mixer too here. This is great. I can hand the audio mixer off to one person. I can handle the video switching off to someone. I can handle the graphics off to someone. Being able to distribute these tasks makes it so you're not trying to do everything on a tiny 5-inch screen. Here you can see the Director Utility app. I could easily tap the different inputs like this, and instantly it's changing the input on the Director Mini. This is wireless through the local area network, so it doesn't have to be directly connected to the Director Mini at all. I can easily just hand this off to someone sitting next to me, whether a phone or an iPad, and they can easily just control the switching of the cameras on the Director Mini as if it's a dedicated computer somewhere, even though it's just a 5-inch tablet. They're also able to go to the graphics, and then if they wanted to, actually let me go to a cleaner input, here you go, and then go to the graphics, and then here's my pop-in graphic, there it is, and there it goes away. And then I can bring the main title in, bring the main title out, bring my countdown timer in, bring my countdown timer out. So you can see these features are very capably done with a small basic cell phone. There's my recording settings, and right here is the volume, and you can scroll down to the HDMI 1 so I can adjust the settings on that. I have access to all the different settings that I would on the Director Mini itself, but in the palm of my hand just by using the cell phone. Another really cool feature is using your phone as a camera. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in, we're going to create an input, we're going to say phone camera. We're going to call it camera 1, image quality is high. We can go into advanced settings, say it's full 1080 at 2997. We're going to give it a bit rate and an audio bit rate. We're going to say create. Now what we've done is we've created a camera. Now we go to our camera, and in the Director Utility app, we're going to say phone camera. There it is, camera 1. We're going to say connect. It'll allow access to the camera, access to the microphone. There we go. Now it's working. So here you have my phone camera, and as you can see, there's a little bit of delay between the phone camera and reality. So this is my main camera, this is the phone camera, and the phone camera is going to be a little bit delayed because it has to take that video, compress it, send it around the local area network, and bring it into the switcher. So there's a little bit of delay between something happening to a directly connected camera and the phone camera. So remember that if you're trying to deploy both directly connected cameras and remote cameras in the same space looking at the same subject. An easy way to leverage remote cameras is looking at the audience or looking in directions where you don't hear sync sound, you're not seeing people's lips moving, and also by showing like the audience reaction shots outdoor, things like that. Or if you're going to cut to something completely different where the sound going into the camera is going to be used for only that source, that is a great place where you can use it. Let's just say you've got cameras on a game, but then you want to go to an interview with the coach. Then you could go to your phone camera on the local wireless network, and that way when you bring that device in with its own audio, that audio will be in sync with the video coming from that same phone. If there's any scene that you don't want, you just need to make sure it's not in the program. If it's in the program and you hold on it, delete is blocked out because you don't want to delete the scene that you're on. So if you select something else, now if you press and hold that other scene, you could then delete that item right from the list. In addition to using the screen as your control surface for the Director Mini, and in addition to using the phone as a control surface for your Director Mini, you can also use a laptop as a control surface for your Director Mini. Let's look at that now. Over here, I have my laptop and we will sign in. And after I signed in, it asks me to make a new password, so I'm going to sign in like that. Never. And you can see immediately I have the information about my connected inputs on the device. I have my 3 connected sources, the version of the software, the status, my connected networking. I can produce, which means I have the same capability as I would have if I were in front of the device. So I can switch inputs. I can go to my multi-view, and you can see it's still doing the fading, and I'm just tapping it here on the remote interface. Plus, I get a bigger display of all the different thumbnails. The refresh rate, obviously, you can see in the web interface is a little lower, but still, this is a third way to control your Magewell Director Mini. You can adjust your settings here. Wait, let's go to the audio mixer. Here's your audio mixer. So you're able to adjust your different audio inputs and change settings as well. Down here, you've got your titles, which on the Director Mini itself are on different pages. If I am switching my inputs here, I'm not able to see my graphics. So having different graphics. So if you are introducing a bunch of people for a award ceremony, it's nice to be able to have one person focus. It's nice to be able to have one person focus on the cameras and have somebody else over here focus on the graphics, so they can just line them all up. You can have lots more titles down here. Then you have your encoding settings, your stream settings, your recording settings, your background settings, your media settings, and your system settings. So there is a lot going on with the Director Mini, especially in terms of control. It's unparalleled in the way that you can control on the surface of the device. It's a touchscreen, all-in-one, carry it in your hand, live production powerhouse. Then you can also use a mobile device to switch between your inputs on the device. Then use a laptop. Whatever device you want to use, you can connect to the Director Mini and produce your show. This becomes the tiniest little big computer live production tool you've ever seen. So you have your two HDMI cameras. You could potentially have two USB cameras. You have RTMP cameras and NDI, like I have the Mevo Start. It's not even on yet. So let's turn this on right now. There we go. That's the beep. It's starting up. And what we're going to do is we're going to try to bring this camera in onto our show. I'm going to think that it's just about set up. I don't know if I have an NDI source here already. I don't think that I do. Let's go to a new input. We're going to say NDI stream. Looking on the search, there we go. Now you can see my Mevo. We're going to click on the Mevo, and here you see this is the Mevo that I am moving right in front of the camera. It's just connected to my office Wi-Fi. And then if I move it over here, you can see there is the laptop that I was using to do the interface, and I can go back to produce. And there's the switching interface. And then there's a laptop over there that I was using to look at the NDI output. And we come back to here. Now that we've got this saved, we're going to save that there. And that is my NDI source. I can call up just like that. So here's my NDI. You can see it's going to go into that endless window. And then I could switch inputs like that. So this has been my look at the Magewell Director Mini, a 5.5-inch screen in this small tablet, but it's packed with features. In the beginning, I asked, will it have enough features to stand out in an ever-growing crowd of all-in-one solutions? Well, I think the Magewell does have some very unique features, especially when it comes to such a small tablet, but being able to put those same features on a phone, a tablet, a computer, and access them all through the Director Mini and execute all of those tasks. I think that's a great standout feature. Not to mention easily replaceable batteries and the ability to use a phone as a remote camera into this device. While the Director Mini stands out with its small screen, I look forward to larger models in the future. So this has been my look at the Magewell Director Mini, a mini in name only. My name is Anthony Burokas. Thanks for watching.